All right, Harry, we're in John chapter 9, verse 39, and it says, Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into this world, so the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so we all know that Jesus opened the eyes of the blind on a regular basis. He healed those who were born blind. He gave spiritual sight to those who were lost in sin and lived in darkness. That was his specialty. Jesus, well, interesting though, is that Jesus always was a bit standoffish, making them ask for sight. They had to want to be healed. And today that's also the case. But the second part of the verse is really interesting. And those who see will become blind. That's interesting. So naturally, over time, our eyes fade, cataracts, whatever, natural, whatever.
Mhm.
Spiritually, it can also happen, and sad when it does. In the Bible, Solomon may be the most famous person this happened to, so we'll go over his story a little. In his early reign, he truly loved the people and he loved the Lord. Things were good. First order of business, he asked God for wisdom. God was pleased. He gave it to him and promised prosperity and long life if he continued to obey God like he was doing. Item number two, Solomon built the beautiful temple of God that his father David had made preparations for. Perfect so far. Item number three, he built himself a new palace, 4 times as big as the temple. Not so smart. He started to worship himself. Items 4, 5, and 6 says that he gathered huge wealth, very many horses, and 1,000 wives. All this was forbidden by the law of Moses. They were told specifically they got to be a king. They weren't supposed to collect lots of wealth and horses and wives, specifically those 3 things. And that's what he did. To top it all off, he built altars and shrines for his wives to worship their gods outside the city of Jerusalem. These shrines stood for hundreds of years, leading the people of Israel to sin until good King Josiah destroyed them. Blindness had set in. Really sad. Solomon could no longer see the way of God. God warned him 2 times, it says, but it didn't help. He was now blind. Even God speaking did not open his eyes. Today, most people are blind to Jesus. Satan's project is to keep them that way. Some people saw Jesus for a while, and we know that, and yet things happened, and after a while they drifted away. They're blind. When we see okay, now in the side topic, if we see a person going down the street with a white cane, we know that they are blind.
Mhm.
We don't go up to them in frustration and say, open your eyes and see. We show them care and compassion.
Mhm.
We know it's not their fault. The same goes for the spiritually blind. They need our compassion and they can be healed. All spiritually blind people need our compassion. That includes all our leaders that don't share our values in government or in schools or in churches, everywhere. We can't force them to see. And if they're blind, our frustration with them won't help them to see.
Mhm.
Only those who want to see and ask for it will receive sight. One of my main prayers in my personal devotions is, Lord, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the mind to understand, and the courage to act on it. And the courage is a big deal because, well, I want to see, but also to act on it. I,
Right.
I tend to, yeah,
I
chicken
think
out
that's the
a lot.
overwhelming one, right? Is like we could see it, but if we're not going to do anything with what we're seeing, how good is that in the end of the day either?
Yeah, no. So, but the concept I find really interesting is that blindness is something we have to want to see. And until a person gets to the place where they want to see, if they're happy where they are, but if they're discontent and say, "Hey, Jesus has an off ramp." And we can see, but in when and for a person to see what the Christian journey, they can't really see it because Jesus changes us. He changes our mind, our interest, our heart. And with a new heart, we become a new person. And as Jesus lives in us, yeah, now we see and see clearly.
Amen. Thanks a lot for this, Harry.
Thank you.